Oh, hold on. I'm getting echo. Hold on. Let me stop.
Uh-oh.
Let me fix this echo. I can fix it. There we go. Fixed it.
Anything can happen live.
There we go. I think we're fixed.
Yeah, I'll hear an echo from your side. All right.
It was from the oh man, why is it still going? I'm getting echo from the playback, and that's going in the theater, and that's the thing that I'm trying to stop. I think I fixed it though. There we go. Did I turn it off? Guys, it's always funny when you just don't know what has caused the issue, but I think we fixed it. I think we're good to go. I think I'm ready to rock. I think we're working. Okay. Welcome to the Half Hour of Horror. I'm Aaron McClain, and with me as always, oh hey, it's Chase. What's going on, man?
Hello. Doing good. How are you doing, Aaron?
I got to tell you, my week has been pretty crazy. So last Monday, I'm sitting at home. I'm playing the guitar. I'm having some me time. I'm hanging out, and the house cleaner that comes once a month, she goes, excuse me. I'm like, yeah. She's like, there's been an accident. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. What happened? The toilet broke. Okay. Wait, is there water everywhere? Yeah, that's the problem. Should have led with that. Should have led with water spraying everywhere. So I come downstairs and there's water coming through the ceiling. I run back up to the other side of the upstairs, and there is a shelf, like a cabinet had just literally fallen off the wall onto the toilet. Toilet exploded. There's water spraying. It's a Bellagio bathroom, water spraying everywhere. I turn off the water, but the damage is done. I got water pouring through my ceiling downstairs, and they've had to tear out the ceiling. We've had fans running 24/7, just trying to dry out the tore up ceiling. What a nightmare. But it's kind of fun because we get to camp out in my office. We've been hanging out up here in my room, kicking it.
It's a cool room to hang out in.
It is. Watching Daniel Tiger on the projector. It's the weirdest juxtaposition. I got Freddie and Jason, and I got Daniel Tiger. But it was luckily, I think insurance will take care of it. But oh boy, man, what a way to start the week. And it's just been dealing with that all week. It's been my week.
I had seen your wife had posted on Instagram that there was a flood in your house.
Yep.
And I didn't realize it was to that extent.
It was crazy. Yeah. So, we're getting it fixed. It'll be all right. So it was crazy. But today I'm excited. We're talking about, we got excited about him last week, but it's never too late to do a whole episode dedicated to our boy, the most handsome man in horror.
Hide your wives, hide your beer.
Hide your beer. Don't worry, I got my 6-pack of Miller High Life. I'm ready. I'm ready to go with go on an adventure with the daughter of a man I just saw murdered to try and solve that murder, neglect my kids and my ex-wife, and go on an adventure. Tom Atkins is who we're talking about. I got my signed Shamrock novelties. Tom Atkins signed. We love this guy. Just
sexiest
awesome.
Sexiest man in horror.
So sexy. Would he be a zaddy? Is he a zaddy? Is that the correct use of that term?
Oh yeah.
Zaddy Atkins. Here we go. I'm excited. I did some research on our buddy Atkins, Tom Atkins. Ooh. His early life is like a John Cougar Mellencamp song. It's so funny because he grew up in his father worked in a steel mill in Pennsylvania, and that's what his life was going to be. He was going to grow up and work in the steel mill, but he joined the Navy, and he noticed that the officers got paid higher if they went to college. So he's like, well, I'm going to go to college. While in college, a girl he was trying to hook up with was in the theater program, and he's like, I'm going to get in that theater program.
That is such a Dr. Chalice move. That is
So,
such a
yeah.
Dr. Chalice move.
What play would you like to be in, Dr. Chalice? That is a stupid question. And so then he joined a frat because, of course, he would. He's in the Gamma Phi fraternity, and he got really into acting. And he's worked with the greats, man. He worked with John Carpenter, George Romero. He's played detectives, doctors. He's always got that authority figure going on with him. Super fun actor. Every time I see him, I know I'm in a good time. So let's start. Let's get into it. Who, as usual, Chase is going to have a letterbox list going for this, and we're going to release that. But I mean, you guys know what movies are going to be on there. But keep an eye out for that. We'll drop that in the comments later.
Also, if you're in the YouTube chat, name some movie so that way we can pull it up on the screen and I can add it to the list. And yeah, and on our video after we're done on X, I'm going to drop the letterbox in the comments. For some reason, YouTube's been taking it off. For some reason, I don't know why, but it's going to be on X, so on Block of Horrors X.
Yeah, so we'll throw it up there, and yeah, let's get rolling. Where was your first Tom Atkins introduction?
You know, I think this is like everybody's Tom Atkins introductions. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yep, watching that was the first time I saw this dude, and you're like, I think it's so funny too, because it's like the amalgamations of all his characters. He's a drunk doctor who is immediately likable. You're kind of like, he's funny. He's
a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, he's flirting with the nurses, playing grab ass with the nurses. And then he goes to his ex-wife and his kids, and he obviously kind of sucks at being a dad. He's always absentee. He sees this murder, a brutal murder, and then the murderer pours gas all over himself, whoosh, lights up in a car, and you get a big flaming car fire. And he's like, oh, I'm traumatized. He's drinking in a bar, and then a cutie shows up, and it's the daughter of the man who was murdered under his care. And he's like, ching. She's like, let's go search for him up in Northern California. He's like, hold on, let me get my beer. So he grabs a 6-pack, calls his wife, lies to her, gets in the car, and goes off on an adventure to the Silver Shamrock Novelties factory.
The best part is his intention, because like you could tell he does not want any part of this. He just wants to just do his job, drink. Then the daughter of the man who was murdered, like he's either like, okay, yeah, I'm a detective now.
I'm a detective now. Yeah, the whole time you're like, wait, is he a detective? And it's like, no, that's a different movie. He's a detective. That's a different TV show he was in.
That's several movies. He's a detective.
He's a doctor in this movie, but for some reason, Ellie Grimbridge, played by Nancy Nelkin, shows up, and he's like, hell yeah. It's just so funny, because from the get-go, they're like, this guy's hot. And throughout the 70s and 80s, movies tried to tell you this guy's hot. Most of the times I don't believe them. Tom Atkins is one of the few exceptions where you're like, sure, he's got a 6-pack of beer and that sweet mustache. I'd buy it. Why not? Let's go. Like anytime they're like Jack Nicholson, oh, he's hot. Like Postman Rings Twice, Wolf. I don't buy it. Has Jack Nicholson been hot? Is he a sex symbol? No. He shakes his head no. To some people, yes. Great
actor.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. He just never struck me as the hot leading man that they tried to make him be in all his movies. Throw it up in the comments. Jack Nicholson, the sexy one, or is Tom Atkins the sexier leading man?
But you know, with Jack Nicholson, I guess it got people to believe it because that man has never settled down. I think he's only been married once, and that was for a short time. And yeah, that he's dated some beautiful women like Laura Flynn Boyle, and he's been around.
It's one I've never understood. Yeah, Wolf. He's like, I'm this sexy werewolf with an insatiable appetite, and you're like, okay. Postman Rings Twice. I don't buy it. Sorry, I just have never bought it. But it's funny because Tom Atkins is effortlessly cool. He's just like, me and my six pack are gonna do the talking. Come on. Yeah, he ends up hooking up with her. She ends up becoming a robot, which bummer.
Yeah, that was weird.
One of my
It's
favorite
weird.
movies. I love this
It's
movie
just
so much.
what I love about this is like he is kind of like unwilling, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it just to bang this woman." And then it's like he really gets in, like especially once he finds out, like, "Oh shit, they could possibly kill my kids." Like,
Yeah,
then he really gets devoted. Like, yeah, I'm really gonna solve what's going on here.
but up until he thought that his kids were, he didn't care that he was neglecting his kids, lying to his kids, not taking his kids trick-or-treating, missing important things that his kids needed to do. He didn't care about any of that. But oh no, my kids are gonna die. I guess I better turn this thing around. That's what tricks me up the most, is just like the fact that the whole thing was just for him to get laid up until the death of all the children was on the table.
Came into factor.
Yes.
Then of course you get that iconic at the end. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Oh, he sells it so well.
Just
what
screaming.
An ending! What an ending! But yeah, this is one of those that when it came out, and I was one of a lot of people's initial reaction. I think it's for most people too. Anyone in the comments, if you loved it immediately after you saw it, let me know, because I think most people I've talked to, and including myself, like when you first watch it, you just see Halloween 3 and Michael's not in it and you get disappointed. You're like, well, what's the point of watching this? But when you rewatch it as its own thing, just don't even think of it as like a Halloween movie. It's its own kind of weird sci-fi B horror movie. It's really good. Tells a great tale. It's one of those, like my partner, I've told the story multiple times, but whenever we would get around, because like we'll watch on the month of October, every night we'll watch a horror movie each night.
Yeah.
And we take turns picking, and it was like I pick Halloween 3 and he'd be like, "Oh, that one.
It's my
like,
favorite.
do we have to watch it?" And I'm like, "Listen, just watch it. Just don't think of it as a Halloween movie." Yeah. Now he loves it, and it's like an annual rewatch. Like hell, we watch it like in April. Like
it is not Halloween. Like I don't get that fall feeling until I watch Halloween 3. I love that movie so much. I just love it because it's so batshit crazy. It doesn't make any sense. You're like, so many bizarre choices are made, but just I love all of it. One of my favorite lines, "It's getting late. I could use a drink." he leaves to go find a bottle of whiskey and to like scope the town out, but pretty much because he's a drunk. Like my favorite exchange in this movie, "Maybe I ought to get another room." That would look sort of suspicious, wouldn't it? Well, I mean, if it'd make you more comfortable, I can sleep in the car. It'd be a lot better than the floor anywhere. "Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice?" "That's a dumb question, Mr. Grimbitch."
Then he just goes for it.
Goes for it. Yeah. And then they hook up. And then another line says, this is lines on IMDb. "Ellie Grimbitch, during sex upon hearing Marge Gruntman die. What was that? Who cares?" All right, I'm going to crack it for Tom. To Tom, here we go. This toy that I have of Tom Atkins literally just comes with a Miller High Life and a whiskey bottle.
That's all you need.
It's all you need, man. A Miller High Life and a whiskey bottle.
I need to get that one because I have the Halloween 3, the Silver Shamrock Kids sitting up on one of my DVDs. Actually, I have the Trick or Treat Studios mask up on my shelf too.
I love those masks. Yeah.
Oh, they're so gorgeous. And it's like one of those you don't realize until you see it in person. You're like, whoa.
I just got a custom stand, and I feel bad because I forgot the name of the guy who made the custom stand. It's a beautiful custom stand, and it says Halloween 3 in mirrored purple, and then it has all three of the figures like walking. It's great. So I got that custom stand. You can kind of see it, the little guys right here. But yeah, that's fun. But I do love this. This was a special thing from NECA that I got. And if you got in early enough, you got the signed Silver Shamrock by Tom Atkins himself. So yeah, after you see Halloween 3, you're like, that guy's cool. But you don't really know what you're in for yet. You still don't have the full picture of the power of the Atkins. And it's not until a little bit later when I see the next one I saw him in was The Fog. which, come on, Pirates, Ghost Pirates, is a fantastic fun movie. Not to me didn't outshine his character, but again shows up in town with a 6-pack. 5 minutes later, he's in bed with Jamie Lee Curtis.
But the thing is, he's mustacheless.
I know.
He's been neutered.
You know what's funny though is like in my mind, he still has the mustache. It's like it just sort of like appears.
You just put it there.
Yeah, your mind's just like, nah. It's kind of the opposite of what happened with Superman when they tried to erase his mustache digitally. The Fog is a really fun movie. I don't think it gets as much credit because for me personally, it doesn't go as far as if you're going to have ghost pirates, I want some ghost swashbuckling. I want some more of that like Pirates of the Caribbean flavor, but it's a fun movie. I'm not going to knock The Fog.
Yeah, I think it gets forgotten about too much because it's literally slapped right in the middle of what people consider to be John Carpenter's two most kind of quintessential films.
Yeah.
That is came at so before The Fog, when did this come out? Was it 1980? 2 years
1980,
prior.
Exactly.
Yeah. 2 years prior, in 1978, you had Halloween, which of course is one of the most iconic films, not even just horror, just films of all time.
Yeah.
Then you have I think a year or two later, you have another one of his most iconic films, which I'm actually wearing, The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to get forgotten about, but it's one of those when you discover it, it's really good. Yeah, you got the Ghost Pirates, excellent cast. You have, of course, Tom Atkins, who just picks up a young Jamie Lee Curtis, who's hitchhiking, and in the very next scene there, bed. You have Adrienne. I always screw up
Barbeau, Adrienne
Barbeau, Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother's in this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this unfortunately tends to get forgotten about, but it's actually I think it's also more subdued compared to something like The Thing, which came out a couple years later, where it's just things bursting out of people's chests. And this one doesn't really have, it's very atmospheric compared to something like Halloween, where it's just a simple stalk and slash, or The Thing, where it's spider legs coming out of people's chests and mouths, where this one is more atmospheric. The villain is kind of the atmosphere in this.
Very much so. The Fog. And then there's something in the fog. And you're like, okay. The Fog came out. Yes, The Fog did come out 2 years before, but we're not going in chronological order. I'm going in the order that I have witnessed Tom Atkins. just to make it a little more confusing. Why not? This has one of my favorite that guy actors, and I'm going to see if I can pull up this picture here. George Buck Flowers. He is. It's hilarious because he's a that guy actor. You have seen him in tons of stuff, and you're like, wait,
Back to the Future.
He's the bum in Back to the Future. He's the guy. And it's so funny because you look at his roles: drifter, bum, bum with beard, homeless man.
That's that Hispanic actor
who played Hector,
who has the shaved head. I can't remember his name, but it's every role he's in, he plays the same character, and it's the same name.
Yeah,
each role.
Hector. The funniest thing, he's in Gremlins 2. He's the delivery man who hears Gizmo singing, and he's whistling the song, and he's and then Billy's like, "Hey, where'd you hear that song?" He's like, "I don't know. Isn't it the new Sting single?" And he's like, "No, dude, no." But I just think it's so funny that this guy has been in so many movies, so many movies. Wow. And every time I see him, I'm like, wait, he's in this too? He's in Ilsa Wolf of the SS. He goes way far back into schlock and basically all the movies that I watch. Yep. Every movie that I've seen, George Buck Flower appears in it. So hats off to George Buck today too, That's so funny to me that you get it's great. So yeah, the Fog is a pretty fun movie. I wish there was a little more pirate swashbuckling, making more in the Goonies realm, but really fun, really cool. And Tom Atkins, just delivers again. His early roles, most of what he has played was doctor, detective, colonel, sergeant. Like he has so many abbreviations at the beginning of his career. Mayor, he was the mayor in Oz, for those of you who were on to early HBO. But yeah, his first role was in 1963. He was in a show called The Doctors. Then in 1968, he's in a movie called The Detective. None of these are starring roles, but it's pretty funny to me that like even early on, it isn't until 1974 he gets his first abbreviation, Sergeant Frank Cole. But then he becomes cop on beat, lieutenant this, lieutenant that, Vic this, lieutenant that. And I just think that that's so funny that throughout his career, he's been a detective, a doctor, just the entire time.
Oh yeah, or a military man. There's one I cannot remember, the New Kids,
Yep.
which he has a very small role in. It's done by Sean S. Cunningham. Yeah, that wasn't my favorite, but yeah, he plays the military dad of, let's see, what is he in that one?
Yeah, he was a police lieutenant in Alfred
Colonel.
Hitchcock Presents.
Colonel. He was Colonel in the New Kids.
Hey, Colonel. Lethal Weapon. For those of you who dig a Lethal Weapon movie, Maniac Cop. Like this guy has just done it all. Cop. Let's talk about Maniac Cop, because I didn't come to Maniac Cop until much, much later, because I saw Maniac Cop 1 is hard to find. Maniac Cop 2 was much more available. Bruce Campbell. And so I saw Maniac Cop 2 first. And it took a while to come back around. I don't think I saw Maniac Cop till 2020.
That's about the same time I saw it. It was like when Shudder had just put it on there. Because even if you try and find anything like Maniac Cop, like I think like Gutter Garbs has shirts for Maniac Cop, it's always Maniac Cop 2. And like if you try to find DVD sets of the Maniac Cop films, it's always the Maniac Cop 2 and 3. That's the one I think with Robert Davi, the guy from Goonies, the opera singer.
Yes. Robert Davi, who just embarrassed himself nationally on TikTok. Yeah, bummer.
Yeah. So yeah, this one, the first one came out in 1988. Yeah, it has Bruce Campbell in it, Robert Zadar as
the Chin. Robert Zadar is another that guy actor who's in so much stuff.
Samurai Cop.
Just has that massive jaw. He's very distinctive, but he's great in this. He's as the Maniac Cop. This was before its time for sure.
Oh yeah, this one is a lot of fun. This one follows, it's basically about a cop who was kind of heavy-handed and kind of took advantage of his power
just a little bit.
He gets convicted for a crime, and the inmates who he arrested, who he brutalized, basically see that he's in jail with them and basically attack him and leave him for dead. I think everyone else thinks he's dead. Was he dead or was he reanimated? I cannot remember. I think he was. He was
Maniac
just
Cop,
scarred.
He's all scarred up. In Maniac Cop 2, he's basically a zombie. He's like Jason Voorhees at this point.
Yeah. I couldn't remember. I get those two mixed up. I know one has Tom Atkins and one doesn't, but yeah, and this one has Bruce Campbell following a string of murders of cops, of fellow police officers with them, and he's trying to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
And yeah, it's basically Robert Dazar taking revenge on the police officers that had him arrested.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Forrest finds himself under arrest as the chief suspect, having been the victim of a setup by the real killer. It's pretty interesting. You got, like I said, it's Bruce Campbell not being Bruce Campbell, which is interesting to see him.
Not Ash.
Yeah, he's not Ash. And Tom Atkins as the
police chief
cop. It's pretty fun. You guys should definitely check that one out. I think the second one's more like over the top, and gorier, but the first one, has its moments. It is kind of a tense, little more action thrillery, because it's like a mystery. You got to solve it, which is fun.
and it's on Peacock.
Oh, the first one is?
Yeah, that's what it says on. Of course, Letterbox added a where to stream feature, which has been a lifesaver. Especially for a future episode you and me talked about that we're going to be doing later, that you and me have been planning. We're going to keep that a surprise. So yeah, this one, it's on Peacock, on Amazon Prime Video, and
Tubi. Apparently
Tubi. Ooh, okay.
Tubi, you can sponsor us. I wouldn't be mad.
I wouldn't be mad either.
Yeah. So after he did all these like cool like cop movies and doctor movies, he started getting into horror and pretty much did that for a long time. I mean, he in the movie Bruiser, which is one of George Romero's last films, he's Detective McCleary, which if you guys haven't seen Bruiser, I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but it's an interesting movie because it's based off of the Metamorphosis, about a man who wakes up as a beetle. This is a guy who wakes up with no face, and it's pretty interesting. Worth checking out if you're in a like Romero kick. If you're like, I'm going to watch all of Romero's movies, which isn't hard to do now. It is definitely not his worst film. Put it that way.
Another one I want to talk about is a role he does not have a big role in because it is an anthology. I think you know where I'm going here, Aaron. But he's kind of like what is it called? What is it called in anthology films where you have like one short that kind of connects
the overall story? Yeah, the art story.
The art story, in Creepshow, another George A. Romero film, where he's kind of in the connecting story where he plays an abusive father to the boy who was reading the Creepshow comics.
Yep.
And I think he plays a drinker in that one too.
Chug-a-lug-a-lug. When you were saying anthology, I thought you were going to go with Two Evil Eyes, where he plays Detective Grogan in the facts in the case of Mr. Valdemar. Two Evil Eyes is it's an Italian film directed by Dario Argento and George Romero. And it's based on Edgar Allan Poe stories. And this has Adrian Barbeau, Harvey Keitel is in it. Like, it's some great anthology. But you also have Tom Atkins in one of them, which is fantastic.
I'm gonna have to check this one out. I think this one's on Tubi also.
Yeah, it's great. It's pretty gory, and it's some of the better. If you're gonna do an anthology, Dario Argento and George Romero, man, you can't get better than that. It's got some gore in it too, man. It's nice and gory. I like Two Evil Eyes.
And it's one director who I've been a fan of for a while, George A. Romero. Another one I'm really starting to kind of do kind of like a deep dive, kind of binge watch of his work. Yeah, I've been very impressed with. So I'm gonna really have to check this out now, especially Harvey Keitel. I love Harvey Keitel. So
yeah, Harvey Keitel's great. Check out the Arrow did a great release of Two Evil Eyes.
Okay.
If you guys want to check that out, it's worth it. But Adrian Barbeau and Tom Atkins have been in like multiple movies together, which is kind of funny because it's like he's in The Fog, Two Evil Eyes, basically that whole John Carpenter era. He was in stuff with her. He's in Escape from New York as one of the military guys. It's pretty awesome. I love his career, his oeuvre, and just what a badass.
Oh yeah. And especially too, you kind of get another one of his kind of cop roles in Night of Creeps. One we kind of briefly alluded to last week. I think now that we don't have, we kind of mentioned it during the last minute of the show. I think now that we have time, I think now we can really
just rewatch this movie for this episode. And what a fun movie. Night of the Creeps. Fred Decker directed. This is a year before he directs Monster Squad. And it's funny because we were watching Night of the Creeps, and my wife goes, look at that graffiti, and it says join the Monster Squad. And this is a year before Monster Squad comes out. So it's like an Easter egg that he laid for the movie that he was going to make next. And I was like, that is cool.
That's awesome.
Movie starts in black and white, which always throws me because I'm like, wait, what? Starts in the 50s. And it's like this like blob era cheesy drive-in horror movie, and I love the style that they made it feel like the 50s. They're out at Lover's Lane, parked cars, looking over a canyon, and this girl's talking to her beau, and they see a star shoot overhead. There's a knock at the window, and it's a young cop, and he obviously knows the girl obviously knows him, and he's like, oh, obviously she wasn't with him, and he's bummed about that. So she tells him to F off. He walks away, and her and her new man go looking for this falling star. Classic Blob stuff right there, man. That's some Steve McQueen Blob shit. And they go looking for this thing, and they find this canister. The boyfriend finds this canister crashed in the woods, and it breaks open, and worms fly in his mouth. Gross. And while that's happening, she's in the car listening to the news reports of like like psycho killer with an axe on the loose near her. And she's looking around, and you see this axe feet carrying an axe shuffling up, raises the axe, swings it down, cut to the 80s, color, everything. It's Rush Week, and we get all the frat boy action. We meet our two nerds, and the movie takes off from there.
One of whom
love
is
the vibe.
played. One of whom is played by Blake Lively's older brother, Jason Lively.
Get out of town! Are you serious?
Yep, that is her brother. I think brother by adoption. I think it is.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty fun though. Oh wow, the two nerd guys are really likable. I think they're fun.
Yeah. They're great.
But as they're they're trying to score, and this guy's like, oh, I want to meet this girl, and his friend's like, you need to go talk to her, and he's like, you know what I need to do? He's like, talk to her. He's like, no, join a frat. So they try to join like the douchiest frat possible, and they try to send them on this like I don't know, hazing escapade, and they're like, you need to go get a cadaver from the school's morgue and dump it on the lawn of a rival frat. The movie opens with like space puppets. I kid you not. There's like these there's like a spaceship, little people, or maybe even children in alien costumes.
It looks like something straight out of like those 50s alien invasions movies we'd see a ton of, which was kind of like there was that period in the 50s where it was like, you know how every era or decade has like their popular horror trend, like the 80s,
the thing to be afraid of. Yeah.
50s, it was like
radiation.
Aliens.
Yeah, it's aliens and radiation because Sputnik, and 50s and 60s, it's radiation because of the nuclear panic, Cold War. It's great. So yeah, you get the movie multiple times has you going, what is going on? Because it starts in space with like space puppets. Then it goes to the 50s. It's black and white. Now you're in the 80s. It's in color. So the two nerds sneak down, and they find this laboratory that has a guy in cryo freeze. And you, as the audience, whoa, you recognize that the dude in the cryo freeze is the jock boyfriend from that first night. And of course they dethaw him. Of course, well, you wouldn't have a movie. And the dude wakes up, and they skedaddle, screaming like banshees, as the movie tells you so many times. And the corpse gets up and walks away. And then we get to meet our hero. Comes in. He's a drunk detective, and you realize that he was the cop on the night of the murder. He was the cop.
Ex-girlfriend got murdered.
Yeah, he through some flashbacks that are pretty well laid out. I love that the reveal of that. He goes and he's trying to solve the case now, and he thinks it's just a college prank. But when the bodies start moving and disappearing, he's like on to something more. And him and the two nerd kids try to solve the mystery. But as more and more bodies start showing up, you got some great things in this. There's the serial killer returns as like a zombie. Freaking awesome. You have a zombie cat. You have a zombie dog. Worms flying out of people's heads. It's fantastic. So much fun.
The best part to me is, of course, you get genre legend Dick Miller, of course, who we knew from Gremlins and
Chopping
Chopping
Mall.
Mall, and
Yeah.
he always kind of plays kind of that sarcastic kind of like working man. Um, Tom Atkins goes to him, who's like he's like head of the armory,
Yep.
where all the like specialty weapons are, and he's like, I need a flamethrower. He's like, well, where's your credentials? Well, I don't have it. Well, that's going to be a problem.
That is going to be a problem. Oh, I love it. It turns out here I'm looking, and it's that's funny. Is the aliens were played by some little people, and the one that I clicked on, he was an Ewok in Return of the Jedi. How fun is that?
Nice.
And he's also in Ewok Adventures, if you guys remember those movies. Yeah, I don't have credentials. Dick Miller is just great. I love Dick Miller. R.I.P. He's another one of those that guys. Where Tom Atkins is, he's usually near one of those that guys that you're like, whoa, he's in everything.
He's one of those Leonardo DiCaprio point memes.
He does invoke that. So yeah, the slugs crawl down your throat. You turn into a zombie and you try and pass it along by vomiting more slugs into people. The nerds, one of them gets slugged in a great sequence. He's on the toilet and he's trying to escape. He has crutches. Yeah,
he has. I think he's disabled.
Yeah, he has crutches and his legs don't work. But he's very agile on those crutches. But the worms get him. It's a bummer.
Oh yeah, that one was kind of like the heartbreaking one because you were like rooting for him. You're like, no,
I liked him. He was my favorite of the nerds because he was the one that made sense. Because the other nerd, the lead guy, Jason Lively, Chris, he's pathetic and needs to find his inner strength, and his buddy is the one who's talking truth the whole time because they have this great conversation in the tiniest dorm room you've ever seen in your life. They have this great conversation where he's like, you're always scared, you're always whining, you're always complaining, and my friend says we need to get in a frat, so what do? I try to join a frat. They say we need to get a body, so I go get a body. I'm not complaining. I just want you to be happy. I just want to help my buddy out, and you are being a complainer and like just being such a downer. And I'm like, yeah, man, tell him, because we all have that one friend. We all have that one friend who's just a downer about everything. And it's just funny because when he gets it, it's a really tragic thing because he finds a tape that is him recording his last testament. He's like, they're in my brain. I'm going down. They don't like fire, though. I'm going down to the furnace. And he goes down the furnace and his friend's head is exploded and there's burnt worms everywhere. It's like, ew. It has a very Slither vibe. I think Slither really did borrow from this quite a bit. Borrowed from this and Deadly Spawn, one of my all-time favorite movies. But so then you get this great like series of montages of Tom Atkins, Jason Lively, and what's
sorority girls.
Yeah, Jill Withlow. She picks up a flamethrower and goes badass. I love it. She and Jake Lively would be in a couple other movies together. She's in Porky's. She's in Weird Science. It's interesting. She would be in Freddy's Nightmare and the Friday the 13th TV show. They both starred together in a movie called 1987's Ghost Chase, which is pretty bad but kind of fun. Yeah, she's recognizable, but I just love it when she picks up the flamethrower and then it's like you got to shoot him in the head with a shotgun and then roast him with the flamethrower as the worms come out. The jocks, their bus flips over and the zombie dog goes inside the bus and then they all come out as zombies with like their faces smashed off, and it's just great. It's so fun.
Then you get that iconic line with Tom Atkins in the sorority house trying to save them, where he's like, well, your dates are here, but they're all dead.
There's good news and bad news. I love it. Yeah, that Night of the Creeps is just a classic love letter to that era, and it's just really fun. And it ends with, you think you've got them all. Tom Atkins sacrifices himself.
The real me.
Yeah, they blow up the sorority house, and like a couple of worms get away into the graveyard, and at the very end you see the spaceship flying over and like a searchlight, and it's a cool miniature, like the graveyard's a miniature and the searchlight's trying to find the worms, and you're like,
you
that's
get the burned body of Tom Atkins walking,
yes, smoking a cigarette.
Then he falls, head cracks open, and like all the slugs and worms come out. Oh, so good.
So good. This movie, I always forget how enjoyable it is. And then I watch it, I'm like, man, this movie's super fun. I don't know if it's underrated. I think everybody likes it, but Fred Dekker would go on to do Monster Squad, which is another fun love letter to this whole thing. And he just knew how to make the vibe of this sort of movie work, and did a great job. He's a lot of fun.
It's one of those, it really saw a resurgence later on, because I was actually watching a video of it, kind of because I actually watched this last week in preparation for our Valentine's Day episode last week. This one is like, it's one of those, so it cost $5 million to make, but it only made 500,000 in theaters when it came out. But it's one of those, it really found life later on video and would get on cable. But again, it was around that time I was watching a video what it was competing against at that time. It had a very small budget marketing, but it was competing against Aliens, Top Gun, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, David Cronenberg's The Fly, and it just kind of got lost. Yeah. Oh, Friday the 13th, I think part 6, Jason Lives. And it just kind of it just got forgotten about.
It came out at the wrong time, and I don't think people had that love letter. They weren't in. You have a love letter, but you're still in the era. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it works better now as a movie that you watch from the 80s as opposed to one that comes out in the 80s. He goes, so yeah, Fred Dekker writes and directs this movie, writes and directs Monster Squad, directs some Tales from the Crypt, and then kills his career with RoboCop 3. What a bummer.
But when you see stuff like Night of the Creeps and you hear about these movies, these cult films from the 80s that didn't do that well, especially cult horror films, it kind of brings back to this line from Maxine, which came out last year, which was the third part of the X trilogy, where she was in the video store with her friend talking about the movie, the in-universe movie, The Puritan. And he goes, well, it's no terms of endearment, but come back to me in 30 years, see which one has the bigger fan base. And it's true. I mean, Night of the Creeps still to this day has sold out showings when they re-release it in theaters.
Well, and it's the perfect movie for that. It is a perfect drive-in movie. It's a perfect late night party movie. Like I said, because it if you put it on at a party multiple times, you'd look up and be like, what am I watching here? There's a flamethrower, there's aliens, it's black and white, it's color, there's zombies. It is there's worms. It is pulling all the fun stuff together. It's got great lines. This is Tom Atkins' favorite film that he's done.
Yeah.
He said that this has been his one, because he's like, I got to spit all those fun one-liners. Like, I got to say funny things and shoot zombies. Like, that's great. Good for him. What a career. What a guy. I know some people who have worked with him. Some of my makeup artist friends have literally applied makeup to his face. They say he's the nicest guy. They say, do not joke about him banging their mom. So he does not find that funny. Which, I think.
My apologies if Tom Atkins happens to watch this. Sorry for making that joke at the beginning of the episode about hide your wives, hide your beer.
Don't apologize to Tom Atkins. He deserves our utmost respect. Of these, it's hard for me to decide what my favorite one is, because Halloween 3 might be my favorite, but after seeing him in Night of the Creeps, man, he's so good. So and he has better lines in that movie. So it's hard for me to decide between those two. I think those are my top two favorites. I don't know if there's anything else worth putting up there, but he has continued to be in films. In 2009, he was in a remake of a movie we talked about a couple weeks ago. He was in the My Bloody Valentine 3D remake as the detective. and he gets killed really well in this. You know, he gets the pickaxe through the head, but
This is
it's a short part.
Yeah, it's a very small part. He plays the detective at or kind of police officer detective at the beginning. Then when it goes the time flash forward, he's now retired and the miner's coming after him. Yeah, great kill. This was kind of like his first work because he's done a few films with this filmmaker duo, Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier, who did do My Bloody Valentine 3D. They also did Drive Angry, where he had a small part with Nicolas Cage and Amber Heard.
Drive Angry is a bananas film, and it's so bonkers because it's in 3D, which I love because the whole time it's like, like, but it's ripping it rips off several scenes from the movie Shoot 'Em Up, which is super bizarre.
With
Colin
is that the
Colin Firth or Colin Farrell? Shoot 'Em Up.
Shoot 'Em Up. Let me look that up.
Shoot 'Em Up is a really fun movie from 2007. Clive Owen and Paul Giamatti and Monica Bellucci. And
what a cast.
In Shoot 'Em Up is like a live action bullet ballet. He uses a carrot to kill a lot of people. Which tells me it's like Bugs Bunny going on. It's a lot of fun. It's over the top. It's absolutely bananas and bonkers. But in Shoot 'Em Up, there's a scene where he and Monica Bellucci are going at it. The SWAT team busts in and he just picks her up while she's riding him and kills like hundreds of people. In Drive Angry, they did the exact same scene, but they come in with stun guns and he's spinning around killing people while they're getting shocked with stun guns. But it's the exact same scene. It's just funny though, because it's like they get electrocuted and she's like, oh yeah, that's it. And you're like, I was like, oh well, there's an enhancer for you.
But he also did another movie with them called Trick, which came out in 2019, which he has a very bit role in it. That was one of those I was watching, got to like his only scene. I was like,
yeah,
that's it. But he was also, so another little fun fact about an unmade film. How Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, when that came out in 2009.
Yeah.
After that came out, Rob Zombie, there's been many documented interviews where Rob Zombie was said he had a miserable time working on Halloween 2. He hated working with the Weinsteins.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm not coming back for this. He's like, I'm done. I'm not going to do another one. So Patrick Lussier and Tom Farmer were actually supposed to helm the next installment called Halloween 3D, where it was going to be revealed that Michael actually survived. Laurie actually survived. He was going to break Laurie. But one of the people that they were going to cast was actually one of their frequent collaborators, Tom Atkins. And they said they actually had a great role for him, which that would have been cool because that would have been his first foray back into the Halloween franchise if it had happened since Halloween 3, and he would have been with Michael, which he didn't get to do before.
that would have been awesome to get him to come full circle and get to be in a Halloween with Michael Myers. He was in one episode of Creepshow from 2019.
Yeah.
Something Borrowed, Something Blue. So he got to be in the Creepshow TV series, which that's why the people that I work with know him, because they all worked on that. But a nice little cameo, a little shorty horror.
Yeah, he was in an episode, I think, where he was like his daughter was getting married, and I gotta rewatch the episode, but I do remember enjoying it. And just seeing
he's great. Anytime he's on scene, he gets to raise a toast.
Tom Atkins. And I think it's what's awesome. He's pushing 90 and he's still going. He's still going. Roles, still doing conventions.
Yeah, and he's still acting on stage. He still lives, he still lives back in Philly, I believe, is where he is now. Pennsylvania, yeah. So he still lives in Pennsylvania, and still did stage recently. He was on stage doing some plays. So yeah, really, really cool guy.
Here he is, because he became a legend. Now he was gonna do something. He originally was gonna, like you said, gonna join a steel mill. Then decided to join the Navy, went to college,
Yep.
And he became a legend in acting by trying to get with a girl he was trying to impress who was in acting. And
That's how
it
it
just
gets you.
started this.
That's how
It
it
just
gets you,
started.
man. And now you're in all these movies that we love. To horror sexiest man, we salute you. A toast to Tom Atkins.
I don't have a beer, but
hey, this one's for you, man. Yeah, for those of you, it's breakfast time. For me, it's 2:30, so I don't feel so bad cracking a champagne of beers, champagne. I know how it's pronounced. It's just funnier to say it that way.
It's Saturday. It's Saturday, and it's the weekend.
It's the weekend. A Miller High. I haven't had a Miller High Life since like college. It's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst, but it is funny. I had to go out and buy it special because yeah, like I said, this figure comes with two things: a bottle of whiskey and a Miller High Life. Not a gun, not anything for his detective stuff. A Miller High Life. So there it is, guys. Tell us in the comments. Go on to Block of Horror and tell us what your favorite Tom Atkins film is. We'd love to do some more of these actor highlight episodes. So let us know if there's any actors that we should go. We might be able to get some of them on the show. We have some connections.
One I think would be great that he unfortunately passed last year.
Dig him up.
I have the great
Tony Todd.
Yeah.
We could do because he is as much as he is a leading man, he's also that guy because he'd just be in the tiniest part in a movie, and you're like, oh, Tony Todd's in this movie. To no fanfare. Like I had no idea and keep forgetting that Tony Todd is in the Final Destination series, and all of a sudden it's like,
yep.
Oh, Tony Todd's in this.
I believe he's gonna be in the new one. I think it's like
one of his last thing he did.
Last thing he filmed like before he passed.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's I'm gonna be seeing Final Destination like most of y'all when it comes out in theaters, the new one, and I'm probably gonna be crying my eyes out when I see for Tony Todd.
Oh, I know, right?
Screen. Oh yeah.
I am really excited for the new one because I love these movies. They're such a simple formula. I don't need an explanation. Just get weird with it, guys. Just make it, because my favorite thing about it is the misdirection. Oh, is he going to put his hand in the garbage disposal? No. Is the knife going to fall on his face from the cabinet? No. Oh, he gets crushed by the window trying to climb out while the room's on fire. Yeah, like it. They always get you. And I think that is the most fun about it. And they're cutting out the middleman because, like, most movies require a man in a hockey mask to do the killing. This, they're like, I don't know, anything you want. The drill on the shelf. Anything can happen.
We've been rewatching these at home the last few days. Like, we watched the first couple. We watched Final Destination 3, which I'm going to argue is probably my favorite one.
It has one of the most unlikable characters in that entire franchise.
The fedora dude?
The douchey guy with the fedora, yeah. He can't die soon enough for me.
Then you get to the fourth one, which isn't very good, but it's the first one in 3D, so you get a lot of want these chips. Like
that's why I love that one. Does that have the one where she falls on the boat and gets impaled on the boat? On the bridge, or is that part 5?
That's part 5, which was also awesome. Okay. Which has one of the best twists in all of them.
So yes, part 5 is my favorite one. Yeah, absolutely my favorite one. So, of all of them, part 5 is my favorite.
Yeah, that one's great. And then I'm trying to think of another actor in the genre. Adrienne Barbeau was another one we could probably do an entire episode on just because of her work in the genre.
Bloodlines. Is that the one that's about to come out? Is part 6?
Yeah, Bloodlines. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So that'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I love this series, and I think it'll be really fun to dive into.
Oh yeah, this one. There's a few other series that I like that we've talked about before that I would really also like to dive into.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you
dive back into? Excuse me.
Yeah. We could do some fun ones. I don't know if we're going to get to it this year, but at some point, I would love to do like a screening in the Prophets Theater if we could. I would love to introduce y'all to some El Santo films, The Masked Man, because this is like an OG genre where you have Mexican wrestling stars El Santo being the best one. Fighting the universal monsters, like he fights Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman and El Hombre de Lobo. Like they're just so fun and just so honest. Like they don't care that the fangs are broken. They don't care that the zombies' makeup are rubbing off onto their costumes. They're just making the most honestly badass film they possibly can with $2, and it is so fun. I love it. So hopefully we can set that up and get you guys into that.
Isn't the original Rey Mysterio, not the, for the wrestling fans, the modern wrestling fans now, not the one that's currently going now. That was originally Rey Mysterio Jr. Then when he joined the WWE, they changed his name from M-I-S-T-S, now M-Y, and dropped the Jr. But the original Rey Mysterio, I think it's his uncle. Isn't he in a few of those too?
Yes, he's in a bunch of them. I can't remember if he's Mil Mascaras or what the original, what Rey Mysterio's father or uncle is, but it's it's just classic stuff, and it's one of those things that like I saw clips of it from Guillermo del Toro's traveling exhibit. He had a museum exhibit where he showed a bunch of cool stuff that his collection, which is humbling. But he had some of them playing in the background as an inspiration of his, and I was like, what?
So basically, Guillermo del Toro, he just took some things out of his living room.
Yeah, well, not out of it. He has an entire house. He has this place called the Rain Manor, and the entire house is a museum of cool shit. And it went on tour, and it was one of the coolest things I ever saw. And I literally, when I saw Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, the original full-size, hand-drawn in pen Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, I wept. It was so beautiful. It just like brought me to my knees. I was just to see it there, to be able to look at it, be this close to it. And I mean, this is an entire museum wing of cool shit that Guillermo del Toro owns. Anyway, we can get into that. I could talk all day about horror and weird shit, but we have had some fun. Chase, plugs. What you got, man?
Yes. So, of course, come and see us every Saturday. Oh, code word.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. We'll do that later. So yes, come and see Aaron and myself every Saturday at the Prophets Theater at blockofhorror.com, virtual world, and YouTube, Block of Horror, and X Block of Horror. Come watch us every Saturday, half hour horror. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Ohayas Chase. And of course, on the comments on X, I'm going to drop the Letterboxd list of the films of Tom Atkins we talked about.
Yeah. And of course, you can follow me at McLean and Abel, and at my other show at Launchpad Pod. We just kicked things off for 2025. We did an episode about Killer Falls, that great scene in a movie where the bad guy falls off the ledge and goes, ah! And we just talked about Die Hard, all the movies that had that in there. And then next week we did a really fun battle royale where we picked our favorite serial killers to see who we would survive against if we were put into a battle royale Hunger Games situation with them. I tell you, if I had to go up against the Predator, he'd leave me the fuck alone, because he'd go into that like heat vision and I would look like the front of a Tylenol box with all my joints like ow, 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 and he'd be like, that guy's not a threat. I'm not going to fuck with him. So I would survive the Predator, no problem. So we got to give away some blood coin. If you go to Block of Horror, Atkins, not the diet, the actor, he's our guy. And of course, if you partake, crack a Miller High Life for our boy Tom Atkins tonight, and put on some Night of the Creeps or Halloween 3, and enjoy the man of the hour. Till next time, it's been a half hour. Bye bye.